Welcome to the deep dive. This is your curated shortcut to staying really well informed without, getting buried under all that information out there. Today, we're doing a deep plunge into the latest from Andrew Kagan's newsletter, Random Technical News You Can Possibly Use. This one's dated August 29, 2025. Think of it as a hand-picked selection of updates, articles, videos, basically the stuff that really captures the pulse of tech and innovation right now.
And yeah, Andrew's given us a lot to chew on this week. It's quite a spread. So our mission here is basically to pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights across 8 main areas. We're going to look at Azure, Microsoft 365, Power Platform and Dynamics 365, DevOps and SRE, then data, analytics, AI, security and compliance, learning and certs, and finally some broader industry news and trends. The goal is really to connect the dots, give you that context. You walk away with those aha moments, feeling, informed, not just overwhelmed.
Okay, let's start unpacking this with Azure then. So, beyond the general updates, there's this specific highlight. Azure Service Groups, Flexible Resource Organization. Now, that might sound a bit dry, like just another way to group stuff. But what's the real advantage here, especially for companies scaling up in the cloud?
Well, the really standout thing about flexible resource organization is how it kind of changes the game for bigger companies managing their cloud stuff. See, historically, Azure users often got tangled up in complex nesting of resource groups or maybe inconsistent tagging, things that just don't scale well. This new way lets you define logical groups that actually span across those traditional lines. So imagine you could easily apply a policy or track compliance or figure out costs for all the parts of one application, the front end, back end, the database, even if they technically live in different subscriptions or resource groups.
Ah, okay, so it cuts through the usual boundaries.
Exactly. It just massively simplifies governance, cost management, compliance, especially for those really complex spread out cloud setups. It's less about just being tidy and more about real operational agility.
That definitely sounds like a big step up. And then there's this security highlight. Quite a bold title. Microsoft Azure Hardware Security to help thwart the world's third largest GDP. Wow. I mean, that's quite a claim. What does that actually mean for people using Azure and maybe for the bigger security picture?
Yeah, it's a strong statement, isn't it? It really points to this huge, multi-billion-dollar investment Microsoft's making in security right down at the foundational level. The third largest GDP thing is basically a metaphor for the scale and sophistication of, state-sponsored, nation-state level threats. Really serious stuff. So this isn't just about protecting your data from, common viruses or ransomware. It's about hardening the actual hardware infrastructure right down to the silicon against attackers who have massive resources and advanced persistent capabilities. It means Azure is trying to build in this level of hardware-based trust that, frankly, most organizations just couldn't achieve on their own.
Right, building the fortress walls thicker and deeper.
Precisely. It provides a really robust, resilient base for critical applications.
Right.
It's getting ahead of threats that try to undermine the whole infrastructure, not just the apps running on it.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk Microsoft 365. That's where so many of us spend our workdays, right? And this is where things can get really practical for boosting efficiency, maybe with features you didn't even know you had, like this one. SharePoint search, date queries, OTB tricks. And OBB, for anyone wondering, just means out-of-the-box stuff that's ready to go. Can you give us a solid example of one of these tricks? Why does it actually matter day to day?
Oh, absolutely. This is a great practical tip. Lots of people just use SharePoint search, typing in a keyword, basic stuff. But these date query tricks make it way smarter. For instance, you could search for all documents modified last Tuesday by Sarah Jones's, or maybe presentations created by anyone on my team in the last 60 days about Project Alpha. And you can often use pretty natural language for this right in the search bar.
So you don't need some complicated code or syntax.
No. That's the out-of-the-box beauty. It moves beyond just matching keywords to finding things based on context and time without needing custom development. It seriously cuts down the time you spend hunting for stuff. Makes you more productive because you find what you need when you need it, and it feels, intuitive.
That sounds like a genuine time saver. Okay, beyond finding things, there are also updates impacting how organizations manage stuff and collaborate. We've got Microsoft 365, new admin feature to manage link creation policies, and also Doc Libs, what's new and what's next from the OneDrive office hours. How do these help with, say, security and just working together better?
Right. The new admin feature for link policies is really important for security and compliance. It gives IT admins much finer control over how information gets shared. They can set defaults for link types, like maybe they expire automatically or have specific permissions. This helps stop people accidentally sharing things too widely and strengthens, data loss prevention. Super important these days. And the OneDrive office hours, focusing on document libraries that signals ongoing work on the core ways we manage files. It hints at upcoming features, maybe better version control or smarter metadata handling, possibly even AI helping categorize things. It keeps that foundational piece evolving.
And sticking with M365, for people exploring AI in their daily tools, there's a guide. How to add more than 3 starter prompts in SharePoint agents.
hmm
What's the real benefit of going beyond just those few default prompts for these AI assistants?
Yeah, this points to AI agents getting more mature in the workplace. Just having 3 starter prompts often felt, well, a bit limiting, right? Kind of forced the conversation down narrow paths. Being able to customize and add more starter prompts means you can tailor these AI helpers much better to specific tasks or department needs within SharePoint. So the AI becomes more versatile for complex questions, and organizations can actually embed their own common queries or business logic right into the AI's starting point.
Making it more relevant right off the bat.
Exactly. It improves the AI's usefulness for specific business situations significantly.
Okay, let's dive into the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 world now. This is where, building solutions often happens without needing deep coding skills, empowering more people. We're seeing things like semantic model refresh templates in Power BI preview and how to configure and use the prompt column in Dataverse. How do these make working with data and building models easier or smarter?
So the Power BI refresh templates, those are a pretty big deal for keeping your data accurate and consistent, especially if you've got complex Power BI setups. Instead of setting up refresh schedules manually for every single model, these templates let you standardize and automate it. That's huge for governance and just trusting your data, particularly for big, regular data loads. It means your insights are more reliable, less prone to, human error. And the prompt column in Dataverse. Now that's really interesting. It suggests a new way, maybe AI-driven, to interact with your data. Imagine a column that can maybe guide a user's input or validate data on the fly or even generate some insights right there in your main data store based on dynamic prompts.
Integrating AI right into the data entry itself.
Potentially, yeah. It's a step towards more intelligent, context-aware data management. Very promising.
Definitely sounds like a move towards smarter systems. And there's also news about optimizing automation. Asynchronous flows and concurrency control in Power Automate. For people designing automations, what specific problems do these features solve, beyond just making things run faster?
Right. It's really about tackling scalability and reliability issues head on. Before, complex Power Automate flows could sometimes hit bottlenecks, especially if they were triggered a lot or had long-running steps. Asynchronous flows let a process kick off and then continue without waiting for every single step to finish in order. Frees up resources. And concurrency control lets you decide how many instances of a flow can run at the same time. Put them together, and it means your automations can handle massive spikes in activity without getting bogged down or failing.
So much smoother operations, especially under load.
Exactly. Better resource use, much more resilient automation for important business processes. It's a big step for using Power Automate in more critical situations.
And for people actually building with the Power Platform, there's this interesting item. Homemade plan designer. Pragmatic blueprinting for Power Platform. Even with low-code tools, why is this kind of planning still so crucial, maybe especially for those citizen developers?
Yeah, that's a great point. Even the easiest low-code platform doesn't mean you can skip planning and thinking about the structure. This homemade plan designer idea highlights the need for practical, clear blueprints. It helps ensure that solutions built by citizen developers or even small teams are robust and scalable and don't just turn into a tangled mess later on. It encourages structured thinking, defining requirements, how the data works, the workflow logic before you start building. It aligns with best practices from expert groups like PowerCIT, promoting solutions that aren't just functional but also maintainable, secure, and can grow.
So instilling some engineering discipline even in the low-code world.
Precisely, empowering creation but with structure.
Okay, let's shift gears now to the folks who build and maintain our digital world. DevOps, SRE, infrastructure people. It seems like AI is making massive waves here too, like moving beyond just being a simple helper. We're seeing mentions of agentic coding from Armin Ronacher, the CSA triangle for securing Gen AI apps, and Box's CTO talking about building an agentic platform.
Hmm.
What's this core idea behind agentic? What's the shift?
Yeah, the strong focus on agentic concepts really signals a profound shift. Agentic coding, especially how Armin Ronacher discusses it, isn't just about AI helping a human programmer anymore. It envisions AI agents that can actually interact, collaborate, maybe even self-organize to solve complex problems. They might even talk to each other across different platforms using something called the A2A, or agent-to-agent protocol. So AI becomes an active participant in development and deployment, not just a tool. And building agentic platforms, like Ben Kus talks about, means creating the infrastructure for these agents to work autonomously and together. Then, critically, the CSA triangle becomes the security framework to make sure these next-gen AI apps are built and secured properly from the start, addresses the unique risks of autonomous AI.
Wow, so AI is a team member almost, a leap toward more self-managing systems.
Kind of, yeah. Towards more self-healing, self-optimizing infrastructure. It's a big conceptual jump.
It really is. And sticking with developer tools, we see the usual ongoing refinements. The iteration plan for August and rewriting terminal tools in the VS Code podcast, and the Visual Studio August updates smarter AI, better debugging, more control.
Hmm.
How do these constant updates actually help developers day to day? What's the tangible benefit?
Well, these aren't just minor tweaks. They represent this relentless push for developer productivity. Smarter AI in Visual Studio means things like more context-aware code suggestions, maybe better error spotting, even predicting what the developer might want to do next. Better debugging could mean more intuitive ways to figure out tricky bugs, maybe even with AI helping find the root cause. And more control just gives developers finer command over their whole setup. All this translates directly into faster development cycles, fewer bugs getting out the door, and honestly, just less mental strain for developers. That's the core promise of DevOps, right? Making things smoother, faster, more reliable.
Makes sense. And speaking of AI help, there's GitHub Copilot for Azure Preview, launches in Visual Studio 2022, Azure MCP support.
Yeah.
What's the big deal about this specific expansion, especially that MCP support part?
This is a really key expansion, bringing that AI-driven development power directly into the cloud context. GitHub Copilot is already pretty powerful, but now it's tuned specifically for Azure development right inside Visual Studio. It understands Azure services. And the MCP, that's Model Context Protocol support, is particularly important. It means Copilot can better understand and actually use external information relevant to your Azure environment, like your existing setups or deployed services. So its suggestions for Azure resources or ARM templates or specific code calls become much more relevant and accurate. It's like having a cloud-aware coding partner who knows your project's context.
That sounds incredibly useful. Okay, now let's talk about the fuel for all this innovation, data analytics and AI itself. What's the story for people working with information, trying to pull insights out of these increasingly complex data piles? We see Microsoft's unified platform mentioned again with the Fabric Feature Summary, August 2025, and also a very practical update. Copy job activity and pipelines, public preview. How are these shaping things for data engineers?
Right. Microsoft Fabric is still clearly the central strategy, aiming to unify all those different data tools and experiences, from getting data in to analyzing it to deploying AI models. The idea is for data pros to work in one more cohesive place, reducing the hassle of juggling different tools and integrations. That's a big strategic plus. And the copy job activity and pipelines, that's a crucial, really practical update for moving data around effectively. It gives data engineers a solid managed tool, now in public preview, for setting up data transfers within their ETL extract, transform, load workflows. It simplifies a fundamental, often tricky part of the job.
Makes sense. And then there's this really intriguing idea. It sounds like it's borrowing from how we think. How procedural memory can cut the cost and complexity of AI agents. Sounds amazing for efficiency, but, cutting costs and complexity usually involves trade-offs. What exactly is procedural memory for an AI, and does it create new challenges?
Yeah, this is where it gets really fascinating. It's about making AI agents learn more like humans learn skills. Procedural memory in AI basically refers to the agent learning and internalizing how to do a task or a sequence of actions so it becomes almost automatic, like a skill. Think about learning to ride a bike, right? Once you've got it, you don't consciously think through every tiny movement. It just happens. Applying this to AI could drastically cut down the computing power and development time needed because the AI doesn't have to reason through common tasks from scratch every single time. Makes AI development more accessible, more sustainable.
Okay, so it learns the how-to almost subconsciously. What's the catch?
Well, the potential trade-off is often adaptability. An AI heavily optimized for a specific procedure might be less flexible if the situation changes unexpectedly. It might struggle with novel variations. So the challenge becomes balancing that procedural efficiency with the ability to still think flexibly and adapt when needed. It's about finding that sweet spot between automated skill and genuine intelligence.
Interesting balance. Okay, looking at the architecture side of managing data, mastering declarative data transformations with materialized lake views and what is the medallion lakehouse architecture. How do these help bring order to those huge, sometimes messy data lakes in a practical way?
These are all about bringing structure and reliability to the often chaotic world of big data. The medallion lakehouse architecture is basically a layered approach to data quality. You move data through stages. Bronze is the raw, untouched data. Silver is cleaned, structured, maybe validated. Gold is highly refined, aggregated, ready for business intelligence or analytics. It creates this clear path of increasing data quality and usability. Then materialized lake views are about efficiency. Instead of rerunning complex calculations or joins over massive amounts of data every time someone needs it, you pre-compute the result and store it as a view.
So you access the pre-cooked result instead of cooking it every time.
Exactly. It dramatically speeds up access for common queries. Together, medallion and materialized views help build a much more robust, manageable, and performant foundation for high-quality data, which is essential for reliable analytics and AI.
Right, turn the swamp into something more navigable. Okay, shifting to a supercritical area, security, compliance, and privacy. Feels like a constant battle, doesn't it? Always new challenges. Let's start with policy. NIST control overlays for securing AI systems concept paper. Sounds like trying to get ahead of the curve. What's NIST trying to do here?
Yeah, this is a really important step towards proactive governance. It shows a clear understanding that AI brings unique security challenges. NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, developing these control overlays for AI is vital. It's about setting up a framework to secure AI systems right from the start, not just patching things later. It recognizes new risks, like attacks on the AI models themselves, or poisoning the training data, or privacy issues specific to AI. These overlays aim to give organizations a structured way to think about, assess, and manage AI-specific risks, pushing for a security by design approach.
Getting the foundations right before we build too high. Makes sense. And then we have some very specific, actionable threats highlighted. Malvertising meets Office.com. Why Microsoft is urging caution and hacker scanning to exploit Microsoft RDP services. These sound like things people need to worry about right now.
Absolutely. These are immediate warnings highlighting just how persistent and sneaky threats can be. Malvertising hitting Office.com, that's scary because it means even trusted official-looking sites can be used to deliver attacks. Attackers inject bad ads that could steal your login details or drop malware right where you expect things to be safe. Needs extreme caution. And the constant scanning for RDP services, that's remote desktop protocol, it's a relentless background noise. Attackers are always probing for weak RDP setups to get that first foot in the door. It's often the starting point for nastier things like Kerberoasting, where they try to steal credentials, or RCE remote code execution, which gives them full control.
So basic security hygiene, like locking down RDP, is still absolutely critical.
Incredibly critical. These things might seem basic, but they're constantly being targeted.
Okay, and staying informed is key. We also see the Microsoft Defender experts. Threat Intel episodes. Episode 1 on social engineering, Episode 2 on info stealers, and ClickFix, Episode 3 taking a deeper look at ClickFix. What kind of intelligence do these offer?
These episodes are gold mines. They offer deep dives into real-world threats, straight from the experts at Microsoft Defender who see this stuff every day. They show how attackers are getting much better at social engineering cricking people. They explain the rise of info stealers malware designed just to grab your passwords, financial info, personal data. And they analyze specific malware campaigns like ClickFix, explaining how it works and how to defend against it. This kind of detailed intelligence is invaluable for understanding what attackers are actually doing right now, so you can adjust your defenses accordingly. Knowing the enemy, right?
Definitely. Okay, let's pivot to helping people keep up. Learning and certifications. For anyone looking to upskill or prove their knowledge in this crazy fast tech world, What's standing out? We see broad things like a professional cloud architect full course and updates to certifications focusing more on AI and fundamentals. How do these reflect what the industry actually needs right now?
Yeah, these directly mirror where the big skill gaps and career opportunities are. A full professional cloud architect course highlights the constant demand for people who can really design and manage solid cloud solutions. It's fundamental. And the AI-focused certification updates. That clearly shows the urgent need for validated skills in AI and machine learning, from the basics right up to building complex AI systems. These are really direct pathways for career growth, matching exactly where the industry is heading, cloud-native, AI-driven.
And beyond the big certs, there are practical tool-specific guides. How to use GitHub Copilot on github.com Power Users Guide, and how to build a machine learning system on serverless architecture. These sound very hands-on, not just theory.
Exactly. These are all about putting knowledge into practice immediately. Learning to be a power user of GitHub Copilot right on the website, that's mastering a tool that's quickly becoming essential for developers, boosting how fast and well they code, and building an ML system on serverless that gives you practical skills for deploying AI models efficiently and cost-effectively without worrying about managing servers. These guides show how quickly new tools and methods are getting baked into learning resources, keeping training relevant and cutting edge.
And making knowledge more widely available, there's Cloudflare launching AI mini-series for developers and everyone else. What does an effort like that tell us about where AI knowledge is headed?
I think it speaks volumes about the democratization of AI knowledge. AI isn't just for the specialists anymore, it's touching everything. So companies like Cloudflare making efforts to educate a broader audience, developers needing to use AI, business folks, even just curious people is really important. It helps build a wider base of people who understand the tech, which is crucial as AI becomes more integrated into, well, everything we do.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's zoom out the big picture. Industry news and trends shaping the future. First up, a major partnership. IBM and AMD joined forces to build the future of computing. What does it usually mean strategically when two giants like this team up?
Oh, a collaboration like IBM and AMD, that's usually pretty significant. It often signals big strategic pushes in hardware and computing power. When titans like these partner up, it's often aimed at breakthroughs in things like high-performance computing, specialized chips for AI, maybe next-gen data center designs. It could lead to new standards, shake up the competition, and ultimately result in more powerful, maybe more efficient computing platforms that will underpin a lot of future tech, from science to business AI.
Watching that space then. Okay, focusing on AI's impact in business. Microsoft steps toward fully autonomous contact centers with a new-look AI agent. That sounds like a potentially huge shift for customer service.
It really is a clear glimpse into where customer service might be heading. Microsoft pushing towards fully autonomous contact centers with these new AI agents, it shows AI moving beyond basic chatbots into handling much more complex interactions. These agents are designed for better language understanding, problem solving, integrating with back-end systems. The goal is huge gains in efficiency, scalability, and maybe offering a really different, potentially more personalized customer experience 24/7. It could free up human agents for the really tricky, empathetic stuff.
A potentially massive operational change for many companies.
Absolutely. It could redefine customer interaction at scale.
And lastly, flipping the script a bit, AI on the defensive. Anthropic disrupts AI-powered cyber attacks across critical sectors.
Ah.
This is fascinating, AI fighting AI.
Yeah, it's a really interesting counter-narrative, isn't it? We hear a lot about AI being used for attacks, creating better phishing, finding exploits faster, but companies like Anthropic are actively using sophisticated AI as a defense. They're leveraging AI's power, its speed, its pattern recognition to detect, analyze, and shut down advanced cyber attacks, including those potentially driven by other AIs. It really highlights this dual-use nature of AI and points to an ongoing complex arms race in cybersecurity, increasingly fought between competing AI systems.
Wow, what a tour. We've gone from Azure hardware locking things down against massive threats, all the way to AI battling AI in cyberspace, and even how our brains might inspire more efficient AI agents. It's just so clear the pace isn't letting up, and AI is absolutely central threading through almost everything. Staying on top of insights like these, it really does feel empowering, helps you kind of navigate this constant change, maybe gives you a bit of an edge.
Indeed. And if you connect the dots, what we've really seen today isn't just a list of updates. It's a snapshot of an industry that's in constant, incredibly rapid motion, and it's being fundamentally reshaped by AI's influence, from how we write code to how we secure things to how we learn. Even how major companies partner up AI is increasingly the common thread. Creates huge opportunities, but also, yeah, complex challenges.
So thinking about all this rapid change, especially with AI getting smarter and more capable, what does this really mean for you listening right now as you navigate this tech world, whether you're building stuff, learning, or just trying to stay informed?
Well, here's something to maybe chew on. As these AI agents get more sophisticated, more agentic, able to act and maybe even collaborate on their own, and as the lines between what humans do and what AI does get blurrier, how do we make sure our own uniquely human skills, our critical thinking, our creativity, our ethical judgment evolve right alongside the technology? What new ways of working with AI, what kinds of oversight will we need to really harness these advancements responsibly and, make sure we're building a future that's actually positive?
That is definitely a powerful thought to leave you with, and certainly one worth pondering. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll be back next time to help you unpack whatever the next wave of tech news brings.